hello. Welcome to Rise and Resonate. This is a podcast dedicated for those who want to lead with influence, make needed impact, and earn more income. I'm Alicia Pisani. I'm a motivational speaker, number one international best-selling author, journalist. Good morning and welcome to Rise and Resonate. On our podcast, we have guests that talk about their speaking and using their voices to transform the world. Today, I'm happy to welcome Coach Sonia. She is a teacher, a speaker, a coach. She's also a U.S. Navy veteran. And Sonia, I'm so happy to have you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Sonia, I like to give our guests a chance to tell our audience about themselves in their own words. Can you give our audience a little bit of information about yourself?
Well, let's see here. In 1976, no, but I'm from a small town in Louisiana. It's called Natchitoches, the City of Lights, is where I hail from. I come to you by way of being in the military, U.S. Navy veteran. I served a number of years there and I did reserves, and so I'm proud to be the veteran that sits before you today. I am a mother of twin boys. They're college students going to my alma mater. They are 21 now, and so soon they'll be graduating next year. So I'm pretty proud and pretty happy about that. Um, I come from a rather large family, and I am also um, a book author. I've penned three books. One is a children's book, Charlotte Mingley, the Daydreamer, of which I just released, re-released rather. Just did the illustrations over because I thought they would be much nicer. I've also authored Fatherless Child, and I have done a collaboration with Johnny Wimbrey on a book entitled Push, Persist Until Success Happens. I I am a student of Les Brown and Lisa Nichols, um, and those are great mentors to have in my life. And I am today a coach of leadership and empowerment. I like to say lifestyle specialist, but you know that's that's how we'll go about it here. But yeah, you call me Coach Sonia, and I am glad to be here to be standing strong and resilient in the climate that we're in and the future that we're building.
Wonderful. That gives everyone a really nice picture of who you are, who you were, how you came to be. And we share a lot of things. I'm also a fatherless child. I am also a student of Les Brown and Lisa Nichols, and I'm happy to be in your company, Sonia. I can't wait to see where you go from here. But let's back up a minute.
Yes.
What is something that brought you to where you are today? Something that shaped your vision?
Something that I would say, let's just branch off from the first part of my life. We could go back to that a little bit later, but
Hmm?
at this point for leadership coaching, what actually catapulted me into this area was um, one day at work, I had my boss who um, decided that she wanted to offer me more money because what I was doing during the time was I was actually working during the day and going to school at night. And that was just really my main focus. And what I learned at this particular juncture in my life was that I learned that I was not being paid what my market value was. And the reason why I was not being paid what my market value was because I did not understand the skills and gifts that I had and how they contributed to the market space. And so I didn't know the value of what I was. And so that really, just thinking in that and having that experience and growing from that in reflection allowed me to see that it is important to know how you show up in the world, what impact you have, and what skills and gifts that you possess, and to actually take responsibility for those and to leverage it in a way that can actually cause you to um, be the leader in the space that you're in, be the expert in the space that you're in. So that's what led me into this arena that I'm in now.
Wonderful. So, one of the things that we all go through is challenge. And when we're put in situations, we don't know how to handle it oftentimes, or like you say, we don't realize what our skills are, our natural born gifts. And one of the things that I know I went through, I struggled with this, was being a female and being a woman, not having the confidence and not knowing that it was okay for me to use my voice. What are your thoughts about that? About any women who are out there today and maybe they have something on their heart, they have something on their mind that they want to share, but they don't know it's okay or they haven't given themselves permission.
So as you presented that question, I started to think about my childhood and how I grew up. And I grew up in a very sheltered Pentecostal home. And in my home, it was children were seen and not heard. Even in the religiosity of how I grew up in church, it was basically seen and not heard. You're told what to do, you carry that out, and then you come back for further instructions, basically. And in reflection in later years, I learned how I grew up, and if I could have articulated it then, I probably would have articulated it as maybe I was invisible, and the level of my importance as the young being that I was not actually being focused on, and was not no one was asking me what my cares were, my desires and my wants were. And so being in that conditioned space for so long, I learned that my voice wasn't, now not directly spoken to, but as the goings on around me, I learned that my importance was not visible, and probably not to a degree to be um, mean, or even neglectful, but it didn't really matter that much in the grander scheme of things, which I think if I would have learned that then, I would have known that I am important. How I feel and think about things is important, and it should be heard and it should be conveyed, which led me to years later with the series of experiences that I've had being in the military, being a wife. I'm since divorced, but being in that, and even those different lessons I learned throughout that time, it helped me to discover that my voice did matter, and what I wanted and my importance and what I cared about meant everything. And to really build the confidence in myself to be able to give voice and to advocate for myself became a focal point in my later years.
And I love hearing that you discovered through the roles that you accepted in life and that you chose, that it helped you to discover and build on that confidence and use your voice today. And I've had the pleasure of hearing you speak at times. And let me tell you, you bring conviction, you bring power, you bring passion, and you invoke things in your audience. And so I've been really blessed to be in your presence. So thank you for that. I just want to put that out there. So you did the 3 books, and it's interesting how you did a children's book, then The Fatherless Child, and then The Push Persists for Success. That it's a nice trajectory. It kind of reflects your life, I think, in the path that you've taken. And so I just and I have so many questions for you. So in your speaking, what do you think is one or two of the most um, important ideas, and maybe you've already touched on them, but what are some of the most important ideas that have helped you to amplify your voice and your presence once you got that confidence and you realized that your voice mattered and you mattered? What was it that helped you to rise up and amplify to that next level, to get out on stage and on camera?
I think gone are the days, far gone are the days of people wanting the ideal person. They're wanting the ideal model to be in front of them. For me, which is the theme of my YouTube channel, um, authenticity is ever important. Uh, I think people, and definitely my audience, needs to know that, sometimes you get things exactly like you want, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you fall short. But it's okay, because when you are walking and when you are being and when you are a thinking body of your authentic self, that I think that is just one of the major and key ingredients to being a person of value, of worth, of quality, to be authentic, to say, hey, you know what, I didn't get that right, I didn't quite do that the right way, or sometimes when you don't do things the ideal way, you come into these amazing discoveries of self, interests, embarking on new desires of things that you did not know that was really in your soul's longing. So
Mm,
for me, authenticity is important, and to be okay that you're not, everybody's not for everybody. And
mm,
who you are for will be there for you, and who you are drawn to, you cannot I'm going to say fake influence, but technically you really can't. Like true influence, and you don't have to wonder and go back through the files and wonder, oh well, what did I say? Well, what was I thinking, and how was I feeling at that time? Because you're genuinely being you at all times. And I think for me, and what I have to give to others and my impact and influencing them is just my authentic self. I can only be me. I'm pretty good at me. Everybody else is taken. So I'm pretty good at being Sonia, and that works for me. And what I've
mm.
learned was being authentically me, and being in the space that nurtures me is important, because when I reflect back when I was younger and growing up, they have this idea. Like I said, I grew up Pentecostal, and so they have a certain space of how, at least how I grew up, how things should be and things should go, and this is the shoulds. But no one's checking in on that person to say, hey, I know we said it should go this way, but what do you think about that? Can you weigh in on that? How do you feel about that? How does that align with who you authentically are as a person? No one was asking those questions, and no one was coming to have those one on ones with me. It was just, you are seen, you're not heard. I'll tell you when to do A, I'll tell you when to do B, C, and D. And how you feel about it never factored in. So,
Yeah.
authenticity.
That's right, because I know in a lot of even prior generations where that was the viewpoint for a lot of Americans, and even in other societies around the world, we're seeing that the people are not seeing things the same. The things we're taught, the things we're shown, and what we experience really is not a benefit to us. But let me ask you, Sonia, would you say you're more an introvert or extrovert?
I think I'm about 49, 51. I
Oh.
think I like my alone time when it's alone, but then when I'm out in the, I guess you would say, the exposures of others, I enjoy that just as well. I do love the human spirit. So I love those quiet moments where you can reflect and think and be in deep thought. But I also like to be around others who are thinking bodies and explorative and adventurers of life. So I would consider myself a 49, 51, probably venturing more on the 51 percentage being extrovert. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I've heard people say that they're introverted extroverts or extroverted introverts. And so, you may want to consider those, but it's true that when, I said something recently to someone that I'm an introvert, and they looked at me, and then I realized, wait a minute, before I turned 49 and stepped into my authenticity, I never I wasn't like this at all. I would not be here in this place today. So I get it that, we're complex as people, and how wonderful, isn't it, to see that human spirit and
Yes.
see the development. I mean, even as a mom, I mean, twins going to college at the same time. Whoa, let me give space for that for a minute. But really, that you must be so proud. Um, how do you think has being a mother shaped who you are today as a speaker?
So being a mother, um, when for me at my age, I'm soon to be 49 here in June, but when I think I'm on that brink of life where you start to really think about legacy and think about um, what it is you want your sons to glean from your life, you know, and that's one of the spaces that I have really ventured into. I want the life that I live to mean mean something to my sons, but not really just something. Like a roadmap, something, a guideline, a template. Um, that is important, and I will definitely continue to accept that assignment as long as I can be my authentic self. I think it's important for my sons, but for others to know, like, hey, I sometimes I don't have it all together, but those things that I know, that I know, there's no flip-flopping and changing on that. But at the same time, I hold grounds for being an open vessel, because I've learned stuff from them socially, and I've learned stuff from them and how they think now, and how their experiences now come into their formula and shape some of how they're thinking that was years ago probably those type of experiences or glances into life were not available to me, because let's just be honest, as technology and as life advances, there's some things that become obsolete, or those things that are learned don't have the impact that they did in yesteryears in this new era that we are in. um, so I start to think in terms of the legacy, like being true to myself, being my authentic self, and walking in that. Um, that
Yeah,
is,
and you said something in the beginning about responsibility, that for leaders you talk about knowing your skills,
mhm,
knowing the value, and then having responsibility for those. And so I hear some of that in what you're saying, that you want to be able to use your life and the wisdom that you've gained and impart that on your sons and others too, because despite the fact that the technology is changing, the world is changing, Lord knows the economy, everything is changing at this very moment, but we we can still learn. Some of those humanistic pieces are still the same. Everyone wants to have that calm, the mindset. They want to have that ability to feel at peace with their life and with what they're doing. And so some of the lessons that you're sharing are definitely going to impact your sons and future generations. I know that's true. So thank you. And being a mother, it's like that, right? We have to tie in our role where they watch us. They watch everything we say and everything we don't say. So now, as a speaker, I've found that when I'm having taken some of those lessons, I realize people have been coming to me for years asking,
yeah,
right? So I've been doing this like all along, but that analysis and everything, every experience we've been through really helps us in our efforts as a speaker, because we have to connect with our audiences and we have to solve problems that they don't even know they have. So if I were to ask you another question, what strategies have you used to create those powerful messages that you share? I've heard you reference poems, for
mhm,
example. Do
yes,
you want to talk a little bit about some of the strategies you use to develop those powerful messages?
yes, yes. So I'm a meditator. I'm a person who believes in prayer. I'm a person who believes in communing, excuse me, just getting over this, communing with God. And I think that God is within us. And I think when you can sit still and listen to that still small voice internally, it will never lead you wrong. And I believe in authentic soul, physical, mental. I believe in alignment. And those things that are not in line with you on a spiritual level, and I'm not saying religious, I'm saying spiritual level that brings you soundness and keeps you grounded. When you're able to still away and tune into that, then your walk of life is peace. Your
Mhm.
walk of life is joy. Your walk of life is abundant. Um,
Mhm.
it's important to be abundant in all spaces um, of my life. So when I'm crafting a message and I'm thinking about a speech to be delivered, I do go to that place where I'm quiet, I'm grounding, and I'm looking internal. And when I think in terms of my audience, what is it that they need from me? Is this is a part of my meditative space when I am, crafting what message to give and what is at the heart of what someone needs from me. And it can be anything from speaking on the phone to, my sons or my mother, to speaking to a full, filled auditorium. I think that's important to go to that space, because when you can tap into that, you're not just the mouthpiece just up there, shooting off rhetoric. You are actually tapped in, tuned in, turned on, as one of my favorite folks likes to say. Excuse
No worries. We're
me.
gonna
Sorry.
edit that out. No worries. So that's powerful in terms of a strategy, because I know some people, they write a speech, they'll give it and they'll get feedback and then they just go off and give the speech. But I know for myself, some of the things what I do is I take time in the morning when everything is quiet, and I do that. I tap in, I listen to what is on my heart, what, and again, if it's tied directly to the speech, or maybe it's just some thoughts that I feel are important to get out.
Yeah,
So that's another piece that I typically do that in the morning. And a lot of what comes out ends up in a speech. So
yeah,
I love that journaling, that quiet time, and it's definitely one of the number one strategies to be able to speakers listen up. If you're interested in speaking or want to refine your gift, listen to Coach Sonia in terms of taking that quiet time, aligning with your beliefs, and get grounded so that you can ask the question, what do they really need from you? Oftentimes, it isn't what you want to say; it's what they need
right,
to hear.
exactly. Yeah, we're a vessel. We're a vessel. We're a conduit, so that whatever it is, someone can come there, with whatever on their mind. But when you're tapped in and you're listening to who you are and your alignment, that one person, it could probably fall on deaf ears to the rest of the audience, but that one person may have needed the very thing that you needed to say, because it could make a difference in their life and a decision that they were going to make or not make in the next few moments. And I believe, at those times, that's the person that I showed up for. And I just think it's important to stay humble about that, and be the vessel that you are purposed to be. But you did mention poems. So, yeah, one of my favorite poems is, I have it right here, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry, and be one traveler. That right here, and sorry I could not travel them both, and be one traveler long I stood, and looked one down as far as I could until where it bent in the undergrowth. My favorite poem. And the reason why that's my favorite poem is because, in life we have many intersections, right? But
Mhm.
it was shortly, maybe a year or two after my sons graduated high school and went into college, that this poem came up, where I'm like, I was really two roads diverge in a yellow wood. Of course, without the descriptors, it wasn't yellow, but it was a divergence in life, and I had to pick a path of which way I was going to to travel there, and either way, who was it? The great automobile manufacturer, Tom Ford. Tom Ford is a fashion Henry Ford
Oh,
said that, whether you believe you are right or you're wrong, basically, you're right. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you cannot. But um, I was a few years ago had, came upon this intersection. It was very great because the this intersection was the decision of whether I was going to continue on in education and continue teaching for another umpteen number of years, or if I was just going to follow my heart of my entrepreneurial endeavors and walk in my purpose. And although teaching students, and I love that because I told you I do, I absolutely love the human spirit, was one of the things that would have been very rewarding and very great. However, I wanted to make sure that I was in complete purpose and walking in what fulfills me totally. And that poem came up, um, and I made the decision to go ahead and take a few years sabbatical and get right into coaching. And so I took the road not taken by most, because teaching has security and it has, financial security, and it has a place for you to be Monday through Friday and, throughout the year. But the other one is I make the path, I create the walk. So I'm very glad that I made that decision.
yeah. And I know in terms of being a coach that you can look back, you can teach others what you've been through and what you've healed from, and being able to do that and then see them transform is so rewarding. It's one thing to teach and mentor, and we can still do that, but seeing the transformation and now being able to bring that to audiences as a speaker, I'm with you on this. This journey has been amazing because it's true, as a speaker, sometimes you still need that 9 to 5. You still need that job source of income. You need that for your insurance or different things you might need, but it's okay to do that, right? And you can still speak, you can still share your message. And I just want to put that out there. In this world right now, we're seeing a lot of changes happening. There's a lot of fear, insecurity.
Right,
People are afraid of losing their jobs, or they've lost them. And
right,
I've been a career coach for 10 years. And so one of the things that I want to do is offer those services again to people. I
yeah,
know other coaches who are mindset coaches too, and it's so important to help people and not be afraid to ask for that help. I think the major message for me this year is knowing that we can't do it alone. We need to connect, we need to collaborate. And in these times of turmoil, especially, is when we all need to ask for that help. So there's my public service announcement for the moment. Um, but Sonia, I'm happy we could talk all day, and I feel so light now after talking to you. I don't know, I just feel so calm and fulfilled. Like, this is wonderful hearing your story, hearing your messages, and so as a lifestyle specialist, I want to ask you one more question. What advice would you give to aspiring speakers or leaders about using their voice to rise and resonate?
the advice that I would give before they even venture out on it is understand your why. Why do you do this thing that you are getting ready to do? Because that's going to be the thing that's going to keep you together, and I guess, as we would say, hold you down when one person shows up in the audience, and when you have those clients who you have the whole step system written out for them, the whole blueprint, but they won't even take the first step. So I would say understand why you're doing what you're doing, and really continue to unearth that until you get to a place where you feel very sound and you feel, I want to use alignment, but it's something more. It's more on a cellular soul level that resonates. If you wake up in the morning and you'd say, okay, this is, as they say, the you've heard this before, if there is this thing that you would do for free without the reward of financial reward or the accolades or anything like that, if that's the thing that, if you think you have 5 days left on this earth and that's the thing that you would do regardless,
Mm.
then that is it. Then that is the thing. You're understanding your why, you know.
Mm.
So the advice that I would give to that is be very clear on why you're doing a thing, because everything is not always going to look as you would like it to. It's not always going to be rewarding. It's going to be defeating at times. It's going to feel like you're questioning yourself and your purpose and everything all over again. But once you're clear on your why, that answer is going to come up every time, in those time of when you're on the mountaintop and when you're in the valleys.
Mm.
So understand why you do the thing that you're so passionate about.
Mm. I love that. So leaders, speakers, if you're listening, Sonia is a value voice of reason, and she transforms people. So listen, she comes from the City of Lights. She has authored 3 books. She has overcome challenges in her life to transform. She has dedicated her service as a U.S. Navy veteran. And she's here to bring you a huge message, which is to use your authenticity, to be a person of value and quality, to know that you can find those strategies to align so that you can have peace, joy, and abundance, and also to understand your why. That once you understand your why, despite whatever forces get in your way or challenges come your way, then you'll be able to take that, stand on your truth, and go back to that why as your reason. Now, I know my why has changed over the years, and that may happen, but keep in mind that once you are grounded in that on a cellular soul level, as Sonia has pointed out, you can allow that to help you to really effortlessly go through your life with the choices that where doors open. I've seen this has happened in my life, so I know it's true. um, we've spent time today, Sonia, talking about you. We've talked about your career a little. We've talked about your life, and thank you for being transparent. What is one thing that you want people to know? First, how can they find you, and how can they book you as a speaker?
Okay, so you could find me on soniawysingle.ai. That is my website there, and you can get in contact with me. There's a phone number to reach out to me, as well as a support email where you can also reach out to me in that direction. On IG, it is Sonia Wysingle, at Sonia Wysingle. You can find me there. Facebook, same thing, Sonia Wysingle, and on YouTube, I have some videos up and coming. You can look at Wise Coaching, and I didn't put my LLC on there. So at Wise Coaching or at Sonia Wise Single, you can find me there on YouTube. So
Oh, the
thank
Wise Coaching, is it WYS?
WYS. Thank you for that, Alicia. I appreciate it. WYS Coaching.
Wonderful. Well,
And
Sonia,
yeah.
yeah, so again, I know that we're going to partner on things coming up. We're going to collaborate. But thank you so much for being on the show today, helping others to rise and resonate through your experiences. I can't wait to see where we go from here.